Owner's Perspective, hosted by Eagle Land. All things Colorado ranches from the owner's perspective.
Well, welcome to the Owner's Perspective, hosted by Eagle Land. And I'm Reese Lovell, Joseph Burns, owner-broker of Eagle Land Brokerage. And the point of the podcast is to talk about all things ranches in Colorado from the owner's perspective. And the property we're going to bring to you today makes no exception to that. The San Juan Mountain Ranch, located in Montrose County, Colorado, is a really dynamic piece of property that took some really careful thought in working with the owner and his vision. So this is a listing that Joseph has and here at Montrose. And so you want to give us a spill on where we are with this property?
First of all, I like you call me Joseph. That's kind of nice.
I like to be official and formal.
Reese and my mom both call me Joseph.
Yeah, when I got the collared shirt on. Yeah. So. Joseph.
Joseph, yes. Yeah, everybody else in the world.
That's what it says right here. The listing agent, Joseph Burns.
I know, it's Joseph.
You like to be, pampered.
Proper,
so, yeah.
So I'm Joey Burns, and San Juan Mountain Ranch. This is a fun project. The owner bought this ranch years ago, and the owner was a pretty good-sized developer out of Florida, and he took this ranch, which is 1,090 acres, and had this vision of breaking it into 35-acre parcels. 'Cause in Colorado, you can do you can divide property into 35 acres. It's a use by right by the state, and that's also tied together with you can put a well on each 35-acre parcel, and in the state, so you can service a home, and you're allowed to service a home plus an acre of grass. And so originally they bought this property and said, what could we do with this, and how could we make this into this development? And so they tried to maximize it. And in western Colorado, we're a high desert. We get about 15 inches, 14 inches of rainfall a year. And many times, even though you can put a well on every 35-acre parcel, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to
put a well on
every. Yeah, you can do it, but you may not get water.
Right.
And so, interestingly, this was the situation. So when we got the project, the property is beautiful. So if you head out of Montrose, you're going to go just about 10 miles to the east to the main entrance to the Black Canyon National Park. And so this is a drive that goes up on an area we locally know as Bostwick Park. And Bostwick Park is an area that has a great water company that has early water and late water to irrigate. And this ranch is serviced by that irrigation system. But you got to keep in mind this is a big mountain meadow, or not meadow,
plateau.
But a plateau.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when you're on the valley floor, you're going out Highway 50. You go up onto Bostwick Park, and once you get to the top of Bostwick Park, it's an escarpment. So you're kind of, when you get to the edge, you're it's looking down over the town of Montrose, and to the south you have this dynamic views. So the reason the owner loved this property is because you had this farm feel. It's 7,000 feet in elevation, almost the same as Ridgeway, but just 10 miles out of Montrose. And so you have this farm feel on one side, and then you turn around and you have this escarpment that falls off to the valley floor and these huge views to the south. So you can see why I love the property.
Right.
But when it came to us, it was and I think this is the point of our podcast, it's hey guys, I don't need just a real estate broker to sell my property. I need to figure out what can we do to maximize this property and try to preserve the continuity of Bostwick Park, and how can we get this done? So that was kind of the task.
Right.
And so my advice to the owner was, let's do it a little backwards. Because water is such a predominant feature, and we need water for any type of domestic use, how about we find the water, and then we build the development backwards around the water that we found. And so in the first go-around, they had put a tremendous amount of infrastructure in. So it's kind of this, they put a beautiful road in the center of the property, right on the edge of the hay fields. They put in a water line. And so we had the ability to distribute water.
Right.
We just had to get water. And so there are a lot of rules and regulations within the state of Colorado when it comes to water. You have private water, you can build a community water system, you can build a public water system. And so as we started looking at how could we maximize this, we said, let's look at the infrastructure, let's look at the topography, and let's develop something that fits. What we came up with was 10 parcels that basically follow the escarpment rim that have just huge views to the south. They have views back of these beautiful hay fields, and then and we had the water to then meet those needs. So we ended up putting in 7 wells. 3 of the wells didn't produce, but 4 of them produced very, very good. So we looked at the rules and regulations within the state of Colorado, and we're able to combine some of that water and then distribute it through the internal system. And we will go to market with this property in its developed state June, July of this year. And what we've been waiting on is just, we had such a tremendous water year this year. I mean, the snowfall was great, but it's been challenging to get up on these properties and get work done. So we've already constructed a 10,000 gallon storage tank.
Okay.
It will be tied into the internal water system. It will distribute water to each one of these sites. And we've already had 4 of the properties go under contract just with reservations. A few of the people have backed out of those deals just because of timing, and it's taken longer to get everything kind of through the state, make sure it's all right. But they will be on the market, ready to buy and ready to close June, July this year.
Wow.
Great
So I just want to
pieces.
back up a little bit into, it sounded like the owner had a vision, but needed somebody to carry that forward, to drive that through to an actual product to complete it to the end. And there was a lot of people and pieces that were involved.
Well, yeah. I mean, what was, and this is why I think the uniqueness of our business. You could talk to an attorney, and the attorney will tell you what the legal advice is. You can talk to a surveyor, and the surveyor will tell you what you can do
Within
the boundaries of the state of Colorado, and how that you can make all this work. But then there's a practical side of, like, what do you have? What can you make work? And how can you pull all these parts and pieces together to make something that's viable?
And what's marketable.
And that's where we came in. And so we've had a very good relationship with our seller, and very patient as we've gone through this process. But as soon as we presented the idea, as soon as we had this, immediately people were trying to buy the pieces immediately. We just couldn't get all of it done through the state and the water commissions and everything that had to be done to make it work to where, but from a test of the market, I mean, had 4 of them go to contract immediately.
Yeah.
And again, the great part is, for a lot of buyers, is they're available right now. And we'll be able to close on them very soon. So it's a fun project to be on. We're in the ranch industry. We love ranches. And to me, it makes you feel good when you can get into a project here that, I mean, I grew up in the hayfields of Arizona. So looking across these large meadows, and the neighborhood up there is so cool. There's been some of the wealthiest individuals in the country that have bought some ranches up in this area, and they put in these dynamic irrigation systems with big guns, and it's just
Pipe fencing.
It looks like almost like a golf course of a ranch community, but there are these thousands of acres that are just majestic. And this ranch sits right on the edge of it. It's actually part of it, but you'll be able to put a beautiful home in, enjoy the views, and enjoy this ag community that's just 10 miles out of Montrose. And, we always talk about millions and dollars in transactions. And I mean, for us, a lot of our transactions start above $1 million. And, somebody will be able to buy a parcel up here with a dynamic view site for about $450,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a whole different, it's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I kind of have a biased love for Bostock Park, just because, I mean, personally, I've invested into that area.
Oh, yeah.
And I've sold some ground up there. And so my wife and I are actually personally interested in one of the lots. And so to think about.
Do you have a broker?
I do not, but I know one.
Well, listen, make sure if I sell you one of the lots and you're a broker, that maybe you should pay me a referral fee.
Okay. But, thinking about the reason I love the area is it really is convenient from town. It's not that far
Yeah.
to come out of town. I mean, from here, you're 15 minutes to Ted Nelson Steakhouse.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
easy drive. You're not. So my place is at the very back end of the park, so I got to zigzag down this
Are
dirt
you
road.
pitching your place?
I might be a little bit, but I'm trying to picture.
Did you have
Just
a VRBO
bear
up
with
there?
me.
Is it a VRBO?
It is, and it
And
backs
you-
right to the BLM. Got
very
riding
nice.
trails right out the back.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful, just Instagram cabin. Anyways, call me. But the reason I like this place so much is that off the highway here that goes up National Park, you just have a little short dirt road drive, and you're on the property. So for coming in and out of town every day, or if you work in town, it really is convenient to get to. And like you said, you're at that elevation where you have amazing summer and fall weather. I mean, just perfect weather conditions, like you said, like Ridgeway elevation, but being just outside Montrose and not 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
And then you have these Jupiter pinyon pines that run that rim that you would build into, and from there you're able to look down into the valley and see the river valley that runs through Montrose. That's below you, and then your backdrop is the south rim of the Black Canyon.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the views of the San Juans to the south that you can see on the picture here, but really one of my favorite views is that rock just outcropping that comes up above that irrigated plateau, and those trees climb that up to the top. I mean, I think that is just gorgeous.
Well,
And that's your backdrop.
Yeah, I've always said that the sunset. There are people that have built their houses. You have these world-class views to the south, and I get up there and there's porches on the north side of their homes. I'm like, what do they do that for? I mean, that's the coldest side of the house. But what you find is as that sun goes down in the west, and that it shines on those rocks, it almost turns like a pinky mauve. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And so that's your building sites.
Yeah.
Is you got this irrigated ground down here, and you have this escarpment of trees and elk and deer and turkeys, and then you got this BLM here below. And so I think you had to do some creative stuff here to be able to accommodate toward that BLM and what's down there as well.
Well, and what we did is, as a part of the development and as a part of building these sites, not all the parcels touch the BLM. So we put like a riding easement. So if you wanted to ride your horse into the BLM and then come back through, we made accommodations for that. So everybody that has a home up here, and again, there's only going to be 10 of them. So I mean, it's going to be
Pretty exclusive.
pretty exclusive little club, and you have to build a fine home. It's not going to be a place you can go up there and say, hey, I want to put a couple
Container house.
container houses together and build a house. It's just not going to be that way. You have to build a nice home, and but you'll have the ability to go right off into the BLM and be able to utilize that with the other landowners. So it'll be a pretty neat little club.
Yeah. Well, that area up there is like really already kind of dynamic and stuff with the access to the national park, the access to town, riding trails, all that's up there. And each one of these are going to be roughly 35-acre pieces. And
Well,
there's
they
some
were going to be
80s.
35s. Our idea was based on 35, but part of that ground is steep, and it's kind of adobe hillsides that don't really have a lot of use because of the terrain. They're great for riding on, but the use of it's a bit expansive and it's pretty arid. And so we're only valuing 35 acres of a parcel that might be 100 acres. And the reason that we had to do that is it had to do with some county regulations. We were just going to make them 35 acres, and the middle was going to be open space. And so they didn't like that within the county. So we made the parcels bigger, and then we made that open space just like a functional easement between the parcels. So it just really met the county rules and regulations. But really, what we're selling is a 35-acre building site on top of the ridge. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, really cool place. It's been a process and a project to bring it to even to this point, and now we're just kind of in the waiting period on the weather to be able to finish it out and bring it to the market, and have something that is a pretty dynamic offering for Montrose, Colorado.
Very much so. Very much so.
So, well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about this piece. So these pieces are going to come available, and so this is kind of, I guess, a precursor to letting people know that, hey, let us know if you're having interest, because these are coming.
Yeah, we can take reservations right now. We do have prices on them, but we just can't close on them until the water system is in place. And from that standpoint, the water has been found, the infrastructure has been developed. It just has to be hooked up and turned on. and right now there's still a foot of snow on the ground, and we have to go through a little bit of a mud season. So why I'm saying June, July is by the time things get active and live, it's going to be about that time. But they're already surveyed and ready to go. So
Yeah. And then I guess, to build a house on, you got a road that already has power and water through. It's just going to be like hooking up like in a subdivision almost.
oh, there's
You
power,
know, just
water,
like
phone.
plug right in.
Everything's in place. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think we can find this on our website now under San Juan Mountain Ranch. There's a breakout map on there you can look at to check it out. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.